The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Joining me now, staring into the night sky, it's Mr. Dylan Storey. Hello to you, Dylan.
Hello, Wammo.
And let's take a look, first of all, at this new climate satellite that NASA have gotten together. Tell us about this and what's the reasoning behind it?
Well, I guess climate science is a big area of study at the moment in the sciences in general, and there's a lot of earth science going into it. But NASA are putting in their 2 cents worth, I guess, by putting a satellite up into space, and that's got the unique value of being able to monitor Earth externally. So what it's got a couple of main instruments. One is monitoring how much sunlight is reflected off the Earth. So the Earth's shininess, or if you like.
Yeah.
So that we can tell how much energy is being absorbed and how much is being reflected back out into space and how that's changing over time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that's going to provide a big indication of how much heat Earth's trapping and how much it's releasing back into space.
Right.
The other main instrument in it is measuring the amount of chemicals in the atmosphere, of CFCs that are building up in the upper atmosphere, that are doing things like changing the amount of sunlight that's reflected. So, yeah, it's having this general look from outside Earth.
And I'd imagine it contains a lot of instrumentation that we've never put up in orbit before.
You'd imagine so. They haven't been too clear with the details of it, but I think this is the first time a satellite's been put up specifically for this, for measuring Earth's light reflection.
And so is it up there now? When did they launch it?
They've been trying to launch it for a while, and I believe it's finally been launched. The launches are also always dependent on the weather, of course.
Okay. All right. So there's that. What about the final mission for Discovery?
Yeah, it's kind of a bit sad, really. The space shuttle program's been winding down for a number of years now, and they've been threatening to call it off, and they've been extending the life of these spacecraft, and so it is now finally Discovery's last mission. And they are servicing the International Space Station. They're taking fuel up. They're taking some kind of robot up. It's kind of I'm not sure exactly what the purpose is. It's this sort of crawling, walking robot that serves some function on the International Space Station.
Okay.
The thing about the space shuttles is that they're much bigger than anything else that can go up.
Yeah.
Anything that Europe or Russia has. So to get the really big things up to the space station, that's where America's space shuttle program is needed. And so that's sort of, with the space shuttle fleet retiring, that means that it's that's basically the end of the construction phase of the space station. So it's sort of goes on to maintenance and small installations after that.
Yeah. So is that the final shuttle, or is there still another one?
Yeah. No, that's the final shuttle.
Oh, wow. So it'll be a big moment.
Yeah, it will be a big moment. I know they've been saying that for a few years now, but I believe this is the final.
It'll be a big moment when it eventually touches down.
Yeah, I imagine, yeah. And I've mentioned before how sort of old the technology in these things are. They're you look at the photos of inside the cockpit, and it's all analog. You know, they're all dials, and they're all just winding up figures. It really is. It's late 70s technology, you know.
So it almost feels like it would be one of those things where all those dials and stuff, they don't actually do anything. They're all just for looks now or something.
yeah, maybe there's a tiny little computer which controls the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly, a little calculator or something. All right, okay. Well, let's go back down to terra firma but steering back up the night sky. And what can we see at this time of the year?
Well, we're kind of in between planets in the evening sky at the moment. So we've had Jupiter, which has been a main feature of the skies for the last 6 months or so. And so that's kind of a bit too close to the sun now in the west, because as Earth's moving around the sun, Jupiter will be off behind it, so it's starting to get blocked out by the sun. But that also means that it's bringing Saturn into view, which will be rising in the east. And you have to stay up a bit later. I think about 10:30 at the moment. Saturn will be rising. As the month goes on, it will get earlier and earlier and easier to see. And so Saturn is kind of for the Stardome Observatory's telescope sessions, which happen after the 8 o'clock show. So they go outside at about 9 o'clock, 9:15 to look through the telescopes. Pretty soon Saturn will come into view. And like Jupiter, it's a great thing to see through the telescopes. You know, you can see those rings.
Yeah.
And if you've been watching Saturn for a few years, you can actually see the angle of the rings change.
Oh, like quite noticeably.
Yep. A couple of years ago, I think it was. Must have been 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, in September. It was Saturn's equinox, so it was at right angles. The rings were at right angles to the sun, and that meant that we actually couldn't see them because they're so thin that you can't see them from edge on. They seem to disappear. But as Saturn moves around the sun, the angle of the rings changes, and we start to see them. So we can see them as sort of a very thin line at the moment, and over the next few years they'll get bigger and bigger until, in about 10 years' time, they'll be quite noticeably like sort of a big thing around the planet.
Okay. Cool. And one thing I have noticed in the morning, heading to work, Venus, which has been sort of quite close to the moon.
Yeah. Well, you obviously get up a lot earlier than I do.
Obviously.
And so Venus was visible in the evening sky most of last year.
Yeah.
And so, because it's orbiting inside the Earth, it orbits faster, and so it sort of overtakes Earth, goes behind the sun, and pops out the other side. So that's what it's done now. It's in the morning sky, so it'll be visible in the morning sky for a while. It'll hang around there until it, in a few months' time, it'll sort of disappear again behind the sun.
Cool.
But yeah, it's really bright and a great thing to see in the morning, eh?
Absolutely, really bright. Go and check it all out at the Auckland Stardome Observatory, of course. And Dylan Storey, thanks very much for this morning. Cheers.
Yes, thank you, Wammo.
Coming up after